You know, when people first move to an area, they want to be able to live in a place that might be a little bit further away from everything. They might not have to be so close to absolutely everything. They could be spread out in the country. They could be in a historical area. It doesn't have to be right in the middle of the hustle and bustle. Well, enter Mason, Michigan, which is a part of the greater Lansing area. Mason, Michigan is a place that has tons of historical context within the greater Lansing, Michigan area. It's a little bit of a further commute, but we're going to get into some of the pros and cons of this area, get into some diversity, schools, commute, shopping, entertainment, housing, all that stuff. And please be sure to stay tuned until the end, because I want to give you something to think about, because with housing, Mason might be a little bit cheaper, but there's something that you have to keep in mind when looking to move to Mason. And we're going to get started with this next episode of Lansing, Michigan Life right now. Hey everybody, Troy Seifert here with the Capital Area Real Estate Specialist in the Greater Lansing, Michigan area. I'm a top producing real estate agent in the Greater Lansing, Michigan area, and I get phone calls all the time from people who are just like you watching this channel, people who are looking to move here in 9 days, 90 days, or even 9 months from now, who are looking to make a move to the wonderful area of Lansing, Michigan, which is the capital, by the way, if you did not know that, but looking to move to this great city. And I would love to be able to talk with you about your real estate goals, be able to speak with you about what you're maybe looking for. So all my contact information is in the description below, so please feel free to call me, text me, email me, or schedule a Zoom call with me. I would love to be able to talk with you face-to-face through Zoom even, to talk with you about what you're looking for. Also, if you haven't already, this is your first time to the channel, your 50th time to the channel, whatever time it is to the channel, if you could please like this video, that helps get the word out about this video. If you could subscribe to this channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Also, you can ring the bell, ding, 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 for notifications so that you could be the first to be notified when a brand new episode of Lansing, Michigan Life goes live. And we have brand new episodes going once or twice a week, so you're definitely gonna want to ring that bell for notifications so that you can be notified first when the next episode of Lansing, Michigan Life goes live. All right, so Mason, Michigan. So Mason, the thing that you need to know about Mason, you could be watching this channel and maybe you're looking in Jackson, Michigan, which is another, not as big of a city as Lansing, but it is south of Lansing, about 45 minutes south of Lansing. Well, then there's a highway called 127 South. It's an interstate. You usually travel about 70 miles an hour on it. It goes straight north and south. So if you take 127 South all the way to, that'll take you down to Jackson, Michigan. And on the way to Jackson, Michigan from Lansing, almost smack dab in the middle is Mason, Michigan. And Mason, Michigan, that I have people who commute from Jackson. I have people that commute from Mason that go down to Jackson. I have people that commute from Mason that go up to Lansing, because really it's about 20 to 25 miles either way. It's gonna take you, depending on where you live in Mason, because it is a little bit more spread out, about 20 to 25 minutes to get to Lansing or to the center of Jackson, whichever way. So it can be a suburb of either, but I feel like it's a little bit more of Lansing. It's a little bit closer to Lansing. There are some cities that are further south than Mason that are really, really small, and that some people who want to commute from Jackson end up going to those. So might inch a little bit closer to Lansing, but maybe about like 5 minutes or so. So we're gonna get into the pros and cons of living in Mason. And again, I'm gonna kind of attack this as I'm gonna kind of talk about 5 big categories. I'm gonna be talking about diversity, schools, your commute, shopping, dining, and entertainment, and housing, which all has to do with location, okay? If you've been watching my channel, you see that real estate is all about location. So I wanna talk about the location of Mason so that you can make an informed decision if this is maybe a suburb you should consider when moving here. So the first thing I want to address has to do with the diversity of Mason. This is probably gonna be my shortest one out of all of my pros and cons, because diversity, all you really have are stats for this, right? So in the latest census in Mason, if you're looking for a diverse place, this might not be the place for you, because 90% of those who live in Mason are white. Then the other 10% are other nationalities. The one thing I will tell you just about the Greater Lansing, Michigan area in general is that as housing prices go higher and more people come from different ethnicities and just all across the world, the one thing that you have to be aware of is I feel like diversity will start spreading to some of these outskirts of cities. So I feel that at 90%, it used to be closer to like 95% white in Mason. So it's gone down a little bit as far as all white people that are there. But if you're looking for a place that's gonna have a lot of diversity, which you might be able to find a little bit more so in the eastern part of Lansing, where you have Williamston and you have Hazlitt and you have Okemos and East Lansing. Even Grand Ledge, like the west side of town, has some decent diversity as well. Then if you're looking for diversity, go to those areas, but Mason just isn't going to have that, okay? So you can see it as a pro, you can see it as a con, depending on what you are looking for. But those are the stats for diversity. The second thing I want to get into are the schools. Now, again, with me being a real estate agent, I can't lead you one way to be like, this school system's the best, this one's not. I can't do that. All I can really give you are facts. So the pro of the Mason schools are that it's one of the larger school systems in the greater Lansing, Michigan area. About 3,300 students are in the Mason, Michigan School District. Decent size, so your classroom sizes are gonna be about 250 to 275 per class. And I tell people that if you go to a school district in the greater Lansing area that's smaller, you might have less opportunity. The larger the school district, the more opportunities you might have. Something to keep in mind there, it's a decent size school district. The con though, it has to do with the rating that the school has currently. So niche.com, that's a site that I use. Again, if you watch my videos, you'll be able to see that I use niche.com, N-I-C-H-E.com. And we have several school systems that are A minus. So Mason's rating is a B+. I'm not necessarily calling it a con because a B+ isn't bad, right? But when you compare it to some of the other suburbs that might be more popular in Lansing, it's about middle of the road. So a good, an okay school system, okay size, but it's not gonna be the best of the best. If you're looking for a school that's gonna have all these amazing, programs and just so much for their academics, Mason might not be the place for you, okay? Again, continue to do your research with the school system, but that's what I found for Mason schools. The next thing I wanna address is the commute. This one's gonna take a little bit longer because the commute for Mason doesn't have a lot of corporations that are in their area. They might have Dart Container, that's about it. And that's not even a huge establishment. So if you're looking to work at Dart Container, Mason's gonna be a perfect commute for you. But if you're looking to work at Jackson National Life Insurance Company, that's in Okemos. The thing that's kind of nice about Mason is there are some back roads that you can take directly to Okemos, and it might take you about 10 or 15 minutes to get to Jackson National Life. But if you want to go to Sparrow, okay? Sparrow is going to take you a good 20 to 25 minutes depending on traffic. If you want to do McLaren, that might be a little bit closer because it's a little bit further south. So that might be 15 to 20 minutes for you to be able to get there. If you want to get to the west side of town, you have to take 127 and then you had to take 96 to the west. And that's going to be, again, a good 20 to 25 minutes to be able to get to the west side of town where there's auto owners and Michigan Farm Bureau. If you want to get to the state of Michigan and you're working for the government, again, that's the downtown area. That's going to be close to where Sparrow Hospital is, University of Michigan Sparrow. And again, that's gonna be 20 to 25 minutes. And also construction season can make things a whole lot longer, okay? And right now we're in the middle of construction season. You can ask any Michigander. Construction season usually lasts from April until maybe October, November. So that commute could take you a little bit longer. So keep that in mind when looking for a job. Now Jackson, again, it's gonna be the same thing. It's gonna be about 20 to 25 minutes. The one thing that's really good about the commute is for a majority of the time, you are traveling 70 to 75 miles an hour. Unless you take those back roads into Okemos, then you're gonna be traveling a little bit slower on those. But for a majority of the time, for some of the major corporations in Lansing, you're gonna be taking the highway. It shows that it might be 20 to 25 miles away, but because of how fast you're traveling, that's why it only takes you 20 to 25 minutes. So not that bad for the commute. For some of you who have lived in a larger city, 20 to 25 minutes might not be that bad. People talk about living so close to your commute. You're like, hey, I used to live in Dallas. I used to live in Los Angeles. I used to live in Denver. I used to live in these major cities where I would have to, for my commute, I would have to go an hour one way and an hour another way. You're not gonna experience that when you go from and to Mason to your job, okay? For a time, before they did all the construction on the highway, it did take a little bit longer, like the traffic did get backed up, but now they're fixing that and they're expanding the highway additional lanes. So all those problems will be solved within the next year or two, more than likely. So again, is it worth it to you? Like, is it, hey, 20 to 25 minutes, that's not so bad. Maybe I should consider Mason. just something for you to think about. Okay, so the next thing I want to be able to get into with Mason is how does it rate with shopping, dining, and entertainment? So as far as shopping goes, Mason has an amazing downtown. If you watch my vlog video for Mason, you will see that they have an amazing historic downtown. In fact, Mason was supposed to be the capital of Michigan. They were in the running to be able to do that. So there's a lot of history there. So you have this nice historic downtown that has a nice little greeting card store. It has a bookstore with a coffee shop in it. You have antiques that are around there. You have dining options. You have a deli that's around there. And then one of the roads that you take is like just a major road in Lansing that leads you into like where the downtown area would be. That strip has a McDonald's. It has a Big Boy to be able to eat at. Woohoo! For some of you, you're like, oh, Big Boy, big deal. They also have a place known as City Limits. That's a bowling alley and it's an entertainment place. But you'll see like almost every fast food place along that stretch as well. And so as far as Mason goes, like that's what they really have for shopping. They also have a Meijer that's a little bit further down on one of the exits on 127 that you can go to. So they have a Meijer, which is gonna be, your one-stop shop for groceries. That's about it. So if you're wanting to get into big box retail, if you're wanting to have a lot more options for dining, you're either gonna have to travel 20 to 25 minutes south to Jackson or travel 20 to 25 minutes north up to Lansing, maybe 10 or 15 minutes to Okemos. You could get to some of the restaurants there in Okemos. With what you have in Mason, it's gonna be very limited, okay? But again, I love the downtown there. I think it's a bright spot, and you have the courthouse that's in the center of the downtown area. I think that that's super cool as well. But again, the cons are if you want to get to some of the well-known chains, if you want to have a little bit more options, then you're gonna have to travel a little bit further. Okay. The last thing I want to cover has to do with the housing. And with the housing, the big pro is that the average housing price this past year was just over $300,000, so $305,000. That's about $100,000-ish plus compared to some of the major suburbs like DeWitt, Okemos, Grand Ledge. I mean, that is very, very, very affordable. And the other thing that you have to keep in mind though are the property taxes. What do the property taxes look like? I'm gonna remind you again, because I haven't done this for a little while. Property taxes, there's a millage. With that millage, let's say you had a $200,000 house that you were buying. Okay? You bought the $200,000 house. And a lot of townships in a lot of areas, what they're gonna do is they're gonna create a standard equalized value. With that standard equalized value, they're gonna take half of your purchase price, which for $200,000 purchase price would make it $100,000 state equalized value. The state of Michigan has a law that you can bring the taxable value up to the state equalized value when you purchase a house. That's the only time that becomes uncapped. So you have to keep that in mind when you look to purchase a house, not just in Mason, but anywhere in the greater Lansing area, those taxes are gonna potentially shoot up. So on a $100,000 house, if your millage is 50 mils in that area, your taxes for the entire year are gonna be $5,000, okay? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective. If it's a $400,000 house that you are buying, your state equalized value would go to $200,000. Your taxable value would then go up to $200,000 capped right there. And your taxes would be $10,000 a year. Now in the state of Michigan, there is a cap year to year of 5% year to year for however long you own the property. But the only time that they can really raise the taxes on you are when you personally purchase that house. Now in Mason, if you are closer to the city where the downtown areas, where there's some of those older historic homes that are there, your tax millage is gonna be close to 55 mils. So if you're gonna buy a $300,000 or let's say a $200,000 house, your property taxes are gonna be $5,500 for the entire year. If you move to the outskirts of Mason, because Mason has different townships that are out in the country, those millages are going to be closer to 40 mils. So what does that mean for you? So on a $200,000 house, instead of your taxes being $5,500 with being in Mason City, they would be closer to $4,000 for the entire year. That's like a savings of $1,500. So you definitely have to pay attention to the townships, to the millages. Get in touch with a realtor like myself who will be able to kind of explain this to you. Trusted loan officer in the description below. Definitely get with them because they'll be able to kind of paint the picture for you of like how this is going to work for a monthly payment for you. Now, I did tell you to stay tuned until the end because I do want you to keep this in mind. This last tidbit, this last fact. Your housing might be cheaper at just over $300,000, right? But the thing you have to keep into perspective is that you are going to be paying money in gas potentially to get to your job. Because as I told you in the beginning, for your commute, it could be 20 to 25 miles. And when you look at gas mileage, right? Depending on what kind of car you drive, your gas bill is going to skyrocket. If you were closer to where you're going to work, that's just something to keep in mind, that yes, you're saving money on your housing, but really, are you? If you're driving all those miles and you're spending all that money on gas for your daily commute, it's just something for you to consider. But as far as like the data goes for the average house price, there is a decent amount of savings. You just have to see like, is that savings worth it and what you're gonna spend in gas? And only you can decide that. So again, I hope this video is really helpful for you to be able to see some of the pros and some of the cons with living in Mason. Mason is a special city. People who live in Mason, who I know, they're like, we love Mason, we love the school system, we love just the area that you could live in the country, or you can live in a beautiful historical home. There's so much history to there. So I hope, again, you were able to look at your lists of places you want to live and see, is this a place that, yes, I'm gonna check it and be like, I gotta look into it, or if it's a place I'm gonna cross off the list. Only you can decide that, right? And if you have any other questions on Mason or any other suburbs, because I have a whole collection, a whole entire library of all these videos, I would appreciate it if you would like this video, but subscribe to my channel, and then also ring the bell for notifications. But browse my library. I have a lot of videos for every single suburb. It's gonna be super beneficial to you. And also, contact me anytime. Call me, text me, email me, or schedule a Zoom call with me. I would love to just be able to talk with you about what you're thinking, where you wanna go, where you wanna live, my advice on some things. So hopefully I'll be able to hear from you soon, and until next time, take care. Thanks for watching.